Hello, I am going to give a speech on our Haftarah portion. I know that it is a very hard act to follow, but I will try my very best. Okay, into the speech. Take a look at this stack of books, this beautifully arranged stack of books up here. Which ones immediately stand out to you? Which pique your interest and why? But I actually need answers here. So. Anybody? Why? What for?
Well, it's green. I remember it. Reading it so.
Anybody else?
Is it my turn?
Sad, because I read it too much.
Every single one of you judged a book by its cover. You saw the cover, and either you recognized the title and therefore you felt comfortable with it and you wanted to share that, or you saw something bright and exciting and green and wanted to share that with the group. That's normal to judge. It's a part of human nature, a subject I found within my Haftarah portion. As Libby over here mentioned, this week's Torah portion follows the journey of 12 scouts sent into the Promised Land to scope it out before they enter. The word Haftarah, on the other hand, means conclusion or completion. It is a reading from the prophets, the second section of the Hebrew Bible. The Haftarah concludes or completes the Torah reading, and sometimes there's a connection between the two. This week's Haftarah is from the prophet Joshua and follows the Israelites, picking up 40 years later as they're about to conquer the land of Canaan. Just like in the Torah portion, the Israelites send out a few scouts, in this case 2, to see whether their strategy for attacking Jericho will prove successful. The Israelites plan to come and conquer the town and possibly kill its inhabitants, and the townspeople are very aware of this. The Israelites' reputation and the reputation of their God precedes them. Thus, the citizens of Jericho are on high alert. When the spies enter the city's walls, they encounter a local prostitute named Rahab, who actually hides them. Initially, I thought she'd be an unsavory character, but she's actually essential in helping them hide from potential attackers. She's also quite clever. In fact, her role illustrated a person completely at odds to my original thoughts. This made me go back and consider my initial perspective, and made me think about first impressions in general. Do we really form an opinion of a person just from one detail of them, like I did with Rahab because of her profession? In fact, according to science, we do, and very quickly. A Princeton study found that test subjects were able to form opinions about a person from a 100 millisecond snapshot of their face. My swimmer friends know how little that is. This led me to wonder if I let my first impressions impose a bias on my judgment. We all do make snap judgments, which, if left unchecked, can lead to bias. It's part of the way we try to navigate the world around us. For millennia, we've had to tell the difference between friend and foe, and quickly, we needed to know if that animal running towards us at top speed was a domesticated dog or a feral wolf. However, these judgments aren't always accurate, and we have a responsibility to try to recognize when we're making them, rather than acting out of ignorance. According to the same Princeton study mentioned before, we judge attractiveness, likability, trustworthiness, competence, and aggressiveness all within that time. When I was originally reading the translation of my Haftarah portion and was introduced to Rahab, I had immediate misgivings. The first thing we learn about her is that she's a prostitute. Therefore, I thought that either she's going to betray or seduce the spies, and that this generally isn't going to end well. But she ends up being intelligent and trustworthy. Rather than judging them as killers, she sees them as people whom she can help and gain the trust of, who will in turn help her and her family survive the attack. That happened more than 2,000 years ago, though, and our own judgments, such as me judging a historical figure, don't really carry consequences, right? But what about the ever more apparent and seemingly common violence that we hear about on the news today based on race, such as the mistreatment of Freddie Gray, or sexual orientation, like the Orlando incident, the largest mass shooting that our country, the country where everyone belongs, has ever experienced? The lessons within Torah and Haftarah portions are anything but obsolete today. Instantaneous judgment judgments carry very real consequences apparent all around us. If the Orlando shooter had considered the individuality and value of every one of the lives he took, rather than coming to conclusions based solely on the fact that it was a gay nightclub, maybe those people would be here with us today. I'm by no means saying that I don't have snap judgments and bias either. I took a few of the Harvard bias tests online through a program called Project Implicit, and I encourage every one of you to try them. They're enlightening. To recognize bias through speed sorting faces or symbols and negative and positive words together. And, though I have no strong preferences based on sexual orientation, disability, or race, as much as I try to be unbiased in all aspects of my life, I showed a preference for light-skinned people over dark. This is by no means a conscious decision, and I was horrified as the words appeared on the screen. So how do we avoid these implicit preferences? The first step to circumnavigating these presumptions is realizing they exist, and then being open to considering other perspectives or ways of approaching a person or situation. As a bat mitzvah and a Jewish adult, I need to be willing to communicate with others and work with others, as well as be open to new ideas, when it means putting aside my instantaneous judgments. As a responsible individual in today's world, I need to be able to consider the implications of said judgments when speaking. I need to filter which of those judgments I let impact my way of viewing the world. Please ignore them. Don't judge them. Don't judge them. On a more serious note, my people, the Jews, have been prosecuted throughout history based on the same bias and implicit preferences I still have today. Becoming a bat mitzvah means I carry the past, with all its wrongs and its rights, its ups and its downs, upon my shoulders. And with that legacy, the personal promise to never make the same mistakes as those who made my ancestors suffer. Never to inflict the same pain we as Jews know too well onto others through my own implicit bias. It's not just isolated to me. Everyone makes these judgments and needs to be able to accept that they're there and work around first impressions to avoid prejudice. This way we can help the world thrive together and judge books by their contents, not their covers. Now, take out that big blue book called the Chumash in front of you. Though it may look boring, it houses the stories of thousands of years of reading. On page 1262, you can follow along with our Haftarah chanting.
Baruch atah Adonai